I'm shifting the way I might feel about it, and I'm saying, all right, we've discussed other things, but let's discuss this too. I'm open to discussion.
Okay, so everybody wants to know, how does that discussion go? Because you're going from one side, like I could say, no, you're not having a boyfriend, but you want to have this discussion. So what? It all starts with her telling you that.
Well, she had already told me,
okay,
and I already know she liked the boy. She was talking about the boy a lot. So right away, I'm like, okay, she likes this boy. You don't talk about one boy all the time. Just kind of work him into the conversation all the time. I work my girlfriend into the conversation all the time now. The guys at work are probably like, why are we discussing her? Like, what does she have to do with hang a sheetrock, you know? Nothing, but I want to talk about it. So anyway, I'd already known that. And so then she asked me a couple of weeks ago, she went ice skating. I took her ice skating. She was meeting some friends. This gentleman was going to be there. And this is where she asked me about the dating. I said, and I, prodded her for what she felt as though dating was. And I said, okay, we'll table this and we'll discuss it later. In between that time, I've talked to Anna, and Anna has been in conversation with her. She's a little more open with Anna because Anna's, her mother, and she's just a little more open with her as far as that is concerned. And so today we had a discussion. She was here. I was like, oh, come in here. She was in there on her phone. She spends a lot of time on her phone now. I said, come in here and sit with me for a little bit before you leave. And I said, all right, let's talk about, this boy, and she's like, well, what about? I'm like, well, what's going on? And she's like, I like him and he likes me, and I'm okay. I said, well, I'd like to meet him. Now, I have met him. I took him bowling after her party last week. He wasn't at the party, but I took him, her and a group of friends bowling, and he came to the bowling. And I watched them. Interact. Like, I didn't interfere. Me and my little girl did our bowling, and her friends, but I watched them interact. She's wearing his hat.
Was you doing more bowling or more watching?
I was doing more bowling, actually. I just every once in a while peeked over. But she had his hat on, they're sitting across from one another. You could see it, they're into each other. So I'm like, okay. So I was telling her today that if it comes down to that, if he does ask her out and he does want to do a dating thing with her, then it's my responsibility to, sit down and have a talk with him. Not to scare him, not bring him to the house and me cleaning my rifle on the coffee table. Like none of that. Just to, he's a stranger to me right now. And that's my daughter. And I tried to explain to her and said, look, you're a young lady, but you're still my child. I'm still responsible for you. I'm not saying no. I'm just saying that if it does come to that, then, I need to sit down and just, have a conversation with her. She was very interested in to know what I wanted to ask. Sometimes I'm very honest with my kids. And I said, I don't know. I don't know at this point because it's new to me too. This is where I'm honest and I have discussions with my children. I don't know if it's good. I don't know. I just know that it's how I want to be with my kids. So I said, look, I don't know. It's new to me. This is new to me. But this is what we're going to do. I also said that if I wanted to, I could be the hard parent and make it difficult. I gave her the comparison so that she could understand. Like you don't know how good you got it unless maybe you know how bad it could be or it's been bad before. So I was just trying to give her a comparison to say, look, I could be this, but I don't want to be that. I want to be this. I want to be the parent that says, okay, let's discuss it. Let's talk about it. She apparently got upset, and as I began to explain to you before we started, Anna sent me a text. She was like, when you're done your podcast, you got to talk to me. I can't do the podcast with a text like that. I had to call her. Like, whoa, what's going on? My daughter was a little upset. She picked all the negatives, I guess, out of the conversation, like we do sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
When it's not easy, we pick all the negatives. She picked the negatives. She relayed those negatives to Anna. So now Anna only gets what appears to be negative. So now she's calling me. So that now we have to have a discussion. And it was fine. I raised my volume a little bit, but I do that when I get excited, you know. I wasn't yelling or anything. I just get excited, and I'm
Sure.
she's a little cooler with it. And in my experience,
Anna, or your daughter's more cooler with it?
Anna.
Okay.
And in my experience, limited as it may be, I found that the mothers, for some reason, are a little cooler about it, and the fathers are a little uptight, you know, a little on edge about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but it's two different perspectives, right? You know, it's a woman's perspective, it's a man's perspective. I remember what it was like to be a 15-year-old kid, raging hormones, trying to talk girls into things that I really didn't know what was going on. I was ignorant to it. No one ever talked to me about it. I just knew that I had these feelings, and I knew that I was attracted to girls, and that we were supposed to be doing something.
Okay, so what part of the conversation with your daughter do you think led to her relaying the message to her mother, Anna?
I think she picked out the I could make it difficult for her part, because I said, look, I could go as far as taking you out of the high school and putting you in our high school in our town.
Now I see why she.
So that's the truth. And I think she kind of like jumped on that and didn't hear the other part of me just giving the example. Like, this is what I could do, but that's not what I want to do. We're discussing this here. But I felt like I had to give her the other side so that she could understand that what I'm asking isn't, I'm not trying to make a fool of you. I'm not trying to prevent it. I'm not going to get together with this boy and threaten him. I just want to, you know, meet him. We have a little conversation. It doesn't even have to be about, actually, I don't know. But as I said to Anna, I gave her an example. I'm like, maybe he's a boxing fan. Maybe we just sit and talk about boxing, and I get a feel for him through a boxing conversation. He plays baseball. We could talk about baseball, but I don't know anything about baseball, and I sucked as a kid. But maybe we can have that conversation. I could tell him how I was scared of the ball, so I never got on base. Whatever it is, but it's just a matter of sitting down and getting a feel for him, you know? But my daughter picked the part she didn't like kind of to relay to Anna, so.
I mean, but that's a big part there. You went really extreme saying you could take her out.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And when Anna brought it up, I'm like, yeah, you're right. You're right.
So, what do you think the setting is going to be when you do meet with him? Do you think you're going to invite him to the house? Are you going to take him to get a cup of coffee, walk around at the mall? Like, when this initial meet, I know you was just talking about the boxing, and if he's boxing, you guys could talk. But how do you think this is going to happen? Like, are you going to, like, is it just going to be you and him?
No, I don't think it needs to be. I would think that we would go out, that maybe I would take him and Adriana out, and we would all just kind of go together and have like just this sort of, maybe, I don't want to grill him or anything. That's not my attempt here. I don't want to be like, what's your intentions with my daughter? Number one, he's taller than me. He might be like, what are you talking about? Everyone's taller than me. You saw me. I'm 5'5". But
do you
really,
like him?
I don't want to grill him. That's not my intention.
Do you like him?
From my first introduction, he seems like a nice kid. He really does. I didn't even see the interaction with my daughter anything negative. I just kind of seen them kind of into each other over there. I didn't catch anything negative, which may be negative to a father and not maybe to him, you know. But I didn't see anything. He seems like a really nice kid. But I don't know him though.
Is he trying to kiss her?
No, I asked her today. I asked her if she had kissed him, and she was like, no.
If you found out that he kissed her, would you be? Is that negative? Is that a cause to pause and say, all right, I need a kiss? No,
it really isn't. As much as, to be honest, listen, as much as I don't want that to happen, feeling-wise, in my heart, I don't want that to happen. That's my daughter. intellectually, my mind tells me no. It really it isn't. It isn't. So I'm trying to take the intellectual part, path, and see, and it's biology. It's going to happen. I hope it's a good experience
Anna about this.
What's that?
What is Anna? What do you guys have with this daughter now dating? You both of your oldest daughter is now dating. Well,
she's getting there. She's getting there. Yeah.
Right. She's getting in. What do you guys agree on based off the conversation you guys just had? What do you guys agree on, and what do you guys still disagree on about this?
She's a little more on board with. Like I said, she seems to be a little more comfortable with like, oh, it's innocent. It's it's just two kids. They like each other, and I'm like, yeah, it may appear like that on the surface, but he's a 15-year-old boy with hormones. This is how we're made. Some of us kind of bloom later than others, whatever that. But at that stage, you got some hormones going on. You're interested in girls. She sees it as being like this innocent thing, and like I said, maybe it is, and maybe using the term innocent is the wrong term. The fact is they're both at that stage. I've known a lot of 15-year-old girls with babies in my lifetime.
Sure.
And it's still happening because of just that one time. That boy talks that girl into it, or vice versa. It can go the other way too. I mean, I grew up with some aggressive girls. I was more the timid guy.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
I was more timid. I grew up with some aggressive girls, but it only takes that one point of experimentation. It's like desire meets opportunity.
So do girls? Do you have? And when you use the term birds and the bees, the birds and the bees.
Yeah.
It's usually used for boys. Do you have to have that type of conversation with your daughter yet, or no? Or is that?
I have. I've had that conversation with my daughter. Anna, I think, has talked more extensively with her.
So what is that conversation like with your daughter? Like, because you know what? Some men may not know how to do that.
Yeah.
So, like, what give us some context of what that type of conversation is that you had with your daughter already?
Well, number one, I don't even know if it was the right approach, but this was my approach,
Okay.
When I talked to her, I kind of trapped her in the car, number one. So we're driving someplace. Now she can't escape. I kind of forced her into the conversation. I'm talking to her, and it was around the time where she had just gotten her phone. She had gotten a cell phone. The sexting thing is, a real thing. Probably would have been doing it if I had cell phones growing up. So I'm not, it's just other things happened when I was growing up. So it's just where we're at, And so I began to talk to her, number one, about that. And I explained to her that, she's smart. Academically, she's pretty smart, like most kids are. And she gets teased a lot sometimes. Not a lot, but she's gotten teased in the past because, she did well in school, and then you got the kids that kind of like, nerd or whatever. And I explained to her, I said, look, you know how you feel when you get teased over something, like that? It hurts, I said, if you decide to send a naked picture to a boy, I can guarantee you that as soon as it gets to him, it's going to be to his friends. And imagine how you would feel if other boys throughout the school was seeing your naked body. That was the number one. I wanted her to think about it. I just didn't want to bark orders at her and say, don't do it. I wanted to give her an example and let her think about it for a moment and think about the embarrassment she might feel. Because maybe that's the prevention. Maybe that's like, oh, no. The other thing is I started to talk to her and say, look, when you get a certain age, I might have mentioned this to you before, but I said boys are in competition with one another. And sometimes that goes all the way into manhood. Some men don't outgrow it. I work with a lot of guys that's still talking about the women they're banging. It's not the conversation I want to have with you. Not that I'm above it, but I mean, you're like 40 years old and you're still telling me about the women. Like, all right, I got it. You know, just like move on from that. Who